Okay, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Ian Ellis. I am with Wealth Management Strategies. Let me get our screen started here. Okay, so again, I'm with Wealth Management Strategies. We are the program manager and partner with the ACG to help manage the benefits program that's available to you. If you've been on the program before, you've recognized my voice because I am the one that gets through the webinar. So I appreciate the chance to be here with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'll try and get us through fairly quickly. I know that you all are very busy, so and if you're not at work, you probably are hoping to get home to your family. So I will go through this. If you have any questions along the way, please stop me, or actually, throw a Q&A up there. You're all muted just because of the number of attendees. We can't always allow everyone to speak. So if you, in the upper left corner of your screen, there should be a Q&A box or a little Q&A button. If you click that, you can send me a message. I'll try and keep an eye out for those questions and answer them as they come in. And then at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A as well. Okay, so with that, I will get started. As you know, we're talking about group and employee benefits today, which is one of the benefits available through the ACG, new member benefits program. It's just been launched this year. Let me start out here with a quick video that just got released. This will be real short, just kind of 90 seconds to talk about the program in general. Okay, just wanted to show that. That's something that actually just got finished in the last couple of weeks here, not quite in time to be released during the Orlando meeting, but it's new and we think it works pretty well, so we wanted to share that. Let's briefly touch on what those benefits were that were mentioned in the video. Most of you probably are aware of it, hopefully, but as we know, today we're talking about group employee benefits, and we'll get into that in just a minute. We also have a high-limit disability insurance program. This is a kind of a surplus plan where you have the traditional disability insurance that isn't enough to cover most physicians' income. This is another layer plan we can put on top of traditional insurances to get you extremely high limits all the way up to, there really hasn't been an income that we haven't been able to cover, so we can get into the hundreds of thousands a month of coverage available through that program to truly cover all your potential lost income in the event of a disability. The Physician's Life Income Plan. This is another one that we did a webinar on recently that is available online. You can see the recorded version of it. This is kind of a personal accumulation strategy or another way to set money aside for your own savings, retirement, or other things like that in a tax-deferred investment vehicle that doesn't have plan limits like your 401k does. So it's a good supplement to your 401k. You're already doing a 401k or 403b or something like that. This is a way to put more money away since the IRS limits on those traditional plans are typically too low. Those two have both, we've had webinars on both of those. Company retirement platform. This is for those of you with a practice, surgery centers, anything with employees. You want to offer 401k, or you may already be offering 401k. This is a great platform where we've been able to negotiate some really good pricing. And basically what the company's doing for the ACG here is they're waiving all their administrative fees, they're waiving all their setup fees, and so the only thing left is what's kind of called an asset charge, and that's usually based on the size of your plan, the amount of money you have in the plan. So what they've done is they've agreed to aggregate all of the ACG plans together as one for pricing purposes. So your plan is specific and unique to your company, but you're priced as a part of the larger group. So you may have a $1 or $2 or $5 million plan, but you're going to get priced like you're a 20 or 40 or $60 million plan. Okay. All three of those we've done webinars on already. They are online. However, the retirement one, the 401k platform, is not at the moment because we had some trouble with recordings, but we're working on fixing that. The other two are online now. And then we are recording today's webinar. So when we're done here, we'll post this online as well. And we'll email out a link. So either tomorrow or the next day, you'll get a follow-up email thanking you for being here at the webinar, and that will have a link for you so you can go on to see where to view all these recorded webinars. Okay. A couple more that haven't been done on webinar yet, but will be, is an online financial tool. This is just kind of a portal that allows you to access and view all of your different accounts. You can plug insurances into here, and financial accounts, investment accounts, bank accounts even you can do. There's a secure vault where you can store trust documentation and different things like that. You can give access to your CPAs and attorneys. It's kind of a way to manage all the different things that are happening in our lives, because as we know, the more we make, the more complicated our lives get. And then the last thing is planning. So our firm, Wealth Management Strategies, is a full service wealth management financial planning firm. We do both business planning as well as individual planning. And so part of our deal with the ACG to help manage this program and be here for you is that we're also available to all the members for planning services. A majority of that planning services, because of our agreement with the ACG, would be free of cost. There are certain circumstances where there might be a reduced charge for some of the service if there's extremely complex in-depth planning, especially if there's significant reporting requirements or deliverables. If we need a lot of that kind of stuff, then sometimes there might be small charges. But for the most part, we're available to you to help you work on everything from, employee benefits to business succession planning and even individual retirement planning. Okay. So with that said, I just wanted to, again, let you know that this is something the ACG has been working on for a long time. We've about 2 years now, through almost 3 years now, since we started working with the ACG on this. They started reaching out, trying to vet the opportunities. We've gone back and forth, negotiated with the different plan providers, and we're continuing to do that. So these are some great benefits we've been able to negotiate because of the size and the history of the ACG. And we're continuing to bring on new things. So there's another 1 or 2 new exciting things that we're working on now, hoping to get out first quarter of next year. So with that said, let's move in a little bit more depth here about group employee benefits. Again, it's a pretty short presentation, 5-6 slides. We'll get through it, and if there's questions, hopefully it can add some clarity along the way. So really quickly, today's agenda with our head chopped off doctor here. Today's agenda, we do that because we don't have to pay the actor, pay the model. So we're going to talk about what are group employee benefits. Most of you probably already know, so that'll be a quick one, but just a quick touch up. Then we're going to get into what are the benefits in the ACG program specifically. So we'll talk about the benefits, what's offered, what's not. Talk more about the platform itself, which is actually a pretty cool tool and a pretty cool platform that's been recently completely redesigned from the ground up by the provider. We'll talk about AXA Equitable, who is the provider in this case. It's a very, very large insurance company, one of the largest in the world. And so we'll get just some background on them so you can feel comfortable with who's providing these benefits. We're going to talk about the specific pricing and some of the specific benefits available to ACG members that aren't available on the street or outside of the association program. Obviously, this provider access still provides group benefits across the world, all around the world, and they make these available to any companies, but some of the specifics that we've negotiated is only available to ACG members or their practices. We're going to look at a quick case study on a ACG client or ACG member practice that's already on board with AXA. We're going to look at applications in practice, just to look at the different types of practices and how this might apply. and then we'll kind of talk about how to get more information. So if you want to move forward, or if you want to just get a quote, look at some numbers, we'll go through that. And so you know, and I'll probably reemphasize this at the end here, but when you reach out to us, you're looking for information, you want to get quotes, we're happy to provide quotes. You don't have to worry that we're going to be hassling you a bunch. Our job is to serve you and to serve the association. So if you just want a quote and that's all, and leave me alone, then we're happy to do that. But to that end, we also want to make sure we're servicing you, so we'll follow up once or twice. And again, if you don't want to move forward with it, we're happy to stop bugging you. Okay? And then of course Q&A at the end. So let's quickly dive into what are group and employee benefits. First, the technical definition, right? This is various types of non-wage compensation provided to employees in addition to the normal wages and salaries. We're all familiar with this, but this is any sort of extra benefit we're giving to employees. Now, it may not be something that the employer is paying for, right? And that'll be a point probably going to touch on in a minute here. Here we go. Can be employer paid, employee paid, or a combination of both. So sometimes the benefit you're giving them is just the access to the program or the access to the group plan pricing. That could be considered a benefit, but the employer may or may not be paying for it. Now, the employer can pay for it. We certainly have plans that are 100% employer paid. We have plans that are 100% employee paid, and we have a mix, right, where employer pays a portion of the employee, but not the dependents, those types of things. It is voluntary participation. This is not required participation. One of the things you'll notice in a minute is we're not talking health insurance here. Health insurance technically is a group benefit or an employee benefit, but the program platform we're talking about is not health insurance. We are working on another platform that will include health insurance, but that's not what this is today. Okay, this is kind of everything else. The stuff we're talking about, sometimes you'll also hear it referred to as voluntary benefits or things like that. And ancillary benefits is another one you hear sometimes. So these are all the extra benefits, the things that sometimes are included and sometimes aren't. These are, they can provide tax benefits to employers. So if the employer is paying a portion of the premium or all of the premium, those are obviously tax deductible contributions, which is a nice benefit. And it can be a great benefit for employees. As you know, we're trying to attract and retain the best people. Health insurance is now a requirement, of course, depending on the size of your company, but for most companies, that's a requirement. And then the employees start to look at what's next. Do you have a 401k? Do you have dental, vision, some of those other types of things? So they want to see that, and it's a great way to kind of attract those employees and make sure you're taking good care of your people. May provide participants access to coverage or rates they otherwise couldn't get on their own. I mentioned that earlier, but for example, some people may not be able to get their own life insurance. They might be able to, but they could get access through a guarantee program because you might have guaranteed issue through your group. They also, often the rates you're going to see for both some of the basic life policies, the disability stuff, is far lower than you could ever get outside going for an individual policy. That's another great benefit for your employees. Some common types, and I think I've mentioned most of them: dental, vision, short and long-term disability insurance, and life insurance. These are all group-based programs, not individual plans. So we'll dive into those in a little bit more detail. Any questions on this slide before I keep going? Okay. I'm going to move on. So benefits available. So this is, and we just mentioned them briefly, but this gets a little more detail. Let's first talk about the dental program. So this is traditional dental insurance, like you're probably used to seeing or having. The AXA platform uses the Maximum Care National PPO network. That has over 200,000 access points with over 80,000 unique dental providers across the country. So it is one of the biggest networks in the country. If you have an existing dental plan, odds are your dentist is on there. They have almost everybody. So it's a very good network, very strong network. The vision plan, this is, again, a large network uses VSP. These are their access points, and their network is about 71,000 access points on VSP, which is the largest national network. They also have the largest network of independent doctors. They have nearly 4,500 retail locations. So they have a pretty good benefits program. In addition to this, you can actually use any out-of-network provider as well on the vision plan. You don't have to work in network. The benefits don't necessarily change. The things that will most likely change if you go out of network is going to be your negotiated rates. I apologize. Had a little moment there. Your negotiated rates on the vision might not be as good if you're out of network, but your benefits are still going to be there. The next one is life insurance. This is group life insurance. This obviously gives a nice little security blanket to your employees to help cover any financial burdens that might be left if something happened to them that might be left for their family, whether it's income replacement or if it's most likely is going to be covering different expenses. This can also include dependents, so they can opt up for some dependent coverage as well. There's also additional AD&D coverage, which can increase the death benefit amount if the death were to occur because of accidental death. The other things to know about the life policy is there's tiers available, so you can set up multiple tier classes inside of an employer, in which case different tiers are given different benefit amounts. You may cover the physicians at one level and the rest of the staff at another, or physicians at one level, the nurses at another level, and the rest of the staff at another level. You can set up however many tiers you want to set them up, and then we can kind of put together the benefits as you want to do that as well. You can select different amounts. The amounts are not as high as you might get on a personal individual policy, but these amounts are usually going to range from 10 to 50,000 kind of as a basic coverage. Then you can also get, but you can go all the way up to usually like about 350,000 for some of the upper tiers. So that's available, and that would be this would be guaranteed issue. Obviously, all of these are guaranteed issue, so none of these are included in any underwriting. It's just going to be one simple form. It's basically an enrollment form, just like health insurance. And that's another really nice benefit for some employees who may have medical conditions, which would either make getting personal life insurance impossible, or it would make it extremely expensive. This gives them the access to some form of insurance without any sort of underwriting. It's also very, very inexpensive. Short and long-term disability. This is obviously what it is. It's disability insurance. There's two different forms of it. You can have one or the other or both. Short-term disability is basically going to cover anything under 90 days. Anything that happens, there's going to be a disability will be out of work for 3 months or less. This would pay for that disability. This will also pay, in most states, will pay for pregnancy as well if you're on leave for pregnancy. And then long-term disability is obviously an illness or an injury that would have you out of work for greater than 90 days. This would have a 90-day elimination period where you actually don't get any benefit for the first 90 days, and then beyond that you would start receiving benefit. These are typically tiered as well, and you can also structure them to be a percentage of salary or percentage of wages. Usually they'll be capped at some max percentage of wages, and then you can dial it down if you want as an employer. Again, employer paid or employee paid, and this is a really important benefit because the statistics on 2 out of every 3 people statistically will experience some form of disability in their working lifetime. So I'm sorry, I just mixed up a stat. I don't want to put that out there and have it be dead wrong. I think that was a long-term care stat I just threw at you. The disability statistics are not as great as that. I think it was something like 1 in 4 of somebody that's currently in their 20s will experience disability before they're done working. So I'll have to look that stat up. I apologize for not having it correct. But bottom line is disability is important, and a lot of people don't get it. Individuals sometimes will seek out their own life insurance, they'll do their own retirement planning, but often disability is overlooked. This is an important thing for employees to have, both short-term and long-term. The long-term's probably the more important of the two, but the short-term is so inexpensive often they're combined together. So it's a very important benefit, covers those lost expenses. The reason it's covered capped at a percentage of income is because these benefits are tax-free. So the idea being that your after-tax equivalent income is similar to this percentage cap on your gross income. Okay, those are the 4 or 5 main benefits that are available through the program. Here's a little bit more detail on them. I won't go through these in painstaking detail. Let me stop real quick. We have a question. Is this program for solo practice? So I'll touch on that in a minute at the end, but so you know now in case you're wanting to hop off. It is available for solo practice. However, it would depend on the number of employees, and it depends on which benefit you're looking at, because some of the benefits will have a minimum employee count. So short-term, long-term disability, I think there's a 10-employee minimum. But some of the benefits don't have that. It would just be a percentage participation. So if you've got 4 employees, as long as 2 or 3 of them participate, then you would be okay. So some of the benefits would be available for you. I hope that answers your question. And to get into the details of which one, we'd have to probably talk offline. So back to the details real quick here. Bottom line is these work similarly to any of the dental and vision programs you've probably already seen. Sorry about that little pop-up and alert from my son's school. Dental programs with all kinds of different co-insurance amounts in-network, out-of-network. You've got everywhere from 100% covered plans to 50/50 plans. Deductibles from $0 to $100. These are dental coverages. Now, dental maximums, remember, as you know, probably dental coverage is different than health insurance, where the maximum applies to how much the insurance carrier will pay out on behalf of your dental coverage versus how much you have to pay out of an out-of-pocket max in a health plan. So those annual maximums, that's the maximum that the carrier would pay out, with $1,000 up to $2,000. These are all very typical. If you look at the vision plan, some real small copays for your exams and some good benefits to get frames and lenses. Go over to the life insurance plan there. You've got, again, 1 to 2x salary. You can also do flat amounts, so there's some customizability in there and how you design your plans. So I had another question here. Sorry for pausing. Accelerated death benefits. So that's for if you're diagnosed with terminal illness, you can actually start to receive your benefit, up to 75% of your benefit, before you pass away. You can convert it, which conversion means if you have this term program, say you have $100,000 through your employer through this group plan, and you decide you want to convert it into a permanent policy for yourself, that is allowed through their platform. Portability, also, that means you can move the plan. So if you leave your employer, your employee or your employees leave the company, they can take their plan with them, keep their life insurance policy, and just start paying the premium themselves if they weren't already. There's some coverage restrictions or reductions based on ages, and there's some AD&D buy-ups and stuff like that as well. And disability program, we mentioned that earlier. Short-term disability can go up to 50 to 60% of income, 13 weeks to 26 weeks. There's as little as a 1-day elimination period, so by day 2 you could be getting a check. Long-term disability, again, 50 and 60%. You get all the way up to 66 2/3% of income. That's what those percentages represent. And then for physicians, obviously that's not going to get all the way up, so they'll be capped to the max. And then we have additional programs where we can add in more coverage if you wanted to further increase the long-term disability coverage for those making more than the cap. And then those would pay out to normal retirement age. Usually that's going to be age 65. So if you're taking that long-term disability and you go on long-term disability when you're 45 and you remain permanently disabled, you would continue getting a check through this program through age 65. Now, as soon as you go on claim, the employer is no longer paying a premium on your benefit. You may no longer be with the employer, but you'll keep getting your benefits. So even if the employer drops their benefits the next year or 5 years down the road, you would never stop receiving your benefit and your payment. Okay. Another important thing, very last line, bottom right there, disability own occupation definition, which is important. So that's another key thing to understand, that for the first 2 or 3 years, you're considered disabled if you can't perform your own occupation. After that, it turns into an any occupation definition for this benefit. Okay. Let me move down here. Okay. So this is about the platform. Is there any other questions on the benefits? I'm actually about to leave the whole discussion of benefits, of the actual benefits right now. Are there any questions on this before I move on? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'm happy to come back later if there are more. So this is the platform, okay, the ACG or the Employee Benefits Platform through AXA, which is they call it EB360, Employee Benefits 360, Powerfully Simple Experience. That's obviously their marketing terminology. But I will say it is actually a very good platform. So they rebuilt this from the ground up about 2-3 years ago. It's mobile responsive, it's very intuitive, very easy to understand. The plan administrators, the office managers, the HR managers in our practices love this thing. They can get in, they can have some quick, easy snapshot stuff on their home screens, and they can dive into all the way down to the details of their billing, all the way down to the details of the employees and each employee's coverage. The employees have their own portal. In fact, I'm going through stuff. I should probably look at checkbooks. There's online enrollment. So this is optional. You can use paper enrollment if your office prefers that, but you can also do everything 100% online. The online emails can go out to the employees. They can have access to, they can log in, walk through, pick their benefits, pick how they're going to pay for it, finish the enrollment, and then it's all updated online for your administrator. Then once the plan is in place, all the administration can be done online, the billing can be done online. They can, print ID cards and do everything they need to do all through the portal. Now, they do also have dedicated service reps, so every practice would have your own account manager that you'll be able to speak to directly, and it'll always be the same person, and which is nice. If you don't like to do everything online, they're there for you, or if you just need help finding something online, they can help you do that too. And of course, old paper forms are available, but more and more we're pushing people or encouraging people to use the online system because it kind of keeps everything in track for you, less stuff to file. Billing statements are available online. That's always a nice feature, just to be able to look everything up. You get the snapshot down the employee details. I mentioned that already. Personalized employee portals. So this is another nice function, another nice feature of the fact that this was recently built. The employee portal, which is where each employee logs into their own account, and they can see all of their own benefits. They can pull up forms, do all those things in their own personal portal. It's also really well built, which is different than a lot of the other platforms we are used to seeing out there, because these are built on old legacy systems, and they've tried to integrate them, and they're cumbersome, or they're awkward. They don't feel, they're not intuitive. This new platform is pretty intuitive. And online education is available for their benefits and other benefits. That's a nice thing to be able to have and offer to your employees without having to really do anything with it for it. Okay, so that's a little bit about the platform. Again, they use their marketing language here, but it really is true. It is a pretty powerful and pretty simple platform. We're pretty impressed with it versus the other ones we've seen. Okay, about the plan provider. So this is AXA. We mentioned they're large, so they're actually ranked the #1 global insurance brand for the 8th consecutive year. I think that's primarily brand awareness based, and you may or may not have heard of them. They're a huge international company. If you're from or spend any time in Europe or other parts of the world, you can probably see their sign all over the place. They're less known in the U.S., but they are actually still one of the largest providers in the U.S. as well. Over 30 years of group benefits, 64 countries. You see the stats there, 107 million clients, 111 billion in revenue. So they're a very large company. You don't have to worry about these benefits coming from a provider that won't be there to pay when the time comes, okay? And they're also actually the provider of the 401k platform through the benefits program. They were one of the carriers, one of the providers that when we went to talk to them and negotiate with them about the ACG, they were very excited about the opportunity. And they've done a lot, and they've done a lot to provide something above and beyond what some of the other providers were willing to do, because they really like physicians as a market. They think it's a great market for them, so they've worked hard to deliver something valuable. Let's see, the ACG program. Okay, so let's dive into the details about what's different through the ACG program versus the rest of these benefits outside. So it's offered to all ACG members and their practices. It is got some unique pricing opportunities now. If you're one ACG member in a larger practice than none of the other physicians or members, that's okay. Just at least one of the physicians needs to be a member of the ACG to access the benefits. And the savings you're going to see on these benefits are going to be, many multiple times any annual dues you're paying the ACG. So let's get into the details. So it's a full feature platform. This is not a skinny down platform. Sometimes group programs and group benefit plans and do that. They'll offer a skinnier, cheaper version of what they offer the street. This is their full platform. There's nothing changed, nothing removed. It's custom designed benefits tailored for every employer. So you don't have only one benefit option that all employers must choose. The employer comes and says, I want to partake in the ACG benefits program for employee benefits, we talk about what your plan design is now, what it is you want to have in your new plan design, and it's all custom designed for your individual practice. You can have the tiered benefits. We talked about that, life and the disability benefit amounts. We can tier them and create different employee classes, however you want to structure that. It's got flexible funding options. Talked about that earlier as well. Employer paid, employee paid, a mix of both. We're going to talk about what talks about a buy up here, where that might be something where the employer provides, say $50,000 of life insurance coverage, but the employees have the option to buy up more than that, up to 100, 200, 300,000, whatever it is they want to do. Okay. And then the whole platform has online education, enrollment, administration. We talked about that with the EB360. It's a very nice platform. It makes managing this a lot easier, which your administrators and office managers will appreciate. Okay, now let's talk pricing. This is the biggest piece, most important. So AXA as a whole is a very aggressively priced provider right now. I mentioned they went back and they rebuilt their system 3 years ago. They were out of the U.S. market for a while, decided to come back in and come back in hard. They invested tens of millions in rebuilding their platform for the U.S. specifically, and now they are out there very aggressively pricing their offerings to try and build their book up. So that's a nice thing. My point is, we're starting, before we even talk discounts, we're starting with a provider that's already undercutting other providers 10, 20%. And you add on top of that, they're offering an additional 15% discount to ACG member practices. That's off of their aggressively priced rates. And so the results are significant savings. I mean, eye-opening savings. Pretty surprising as we've run some groups through the numbers, how much they're saving. In fact, it's caused a couple of groups to say, wait, what's going on? Is this, what's too good to be true? What am I not seeing here? So we'll walk through it all with you, make sure you understand it, but the pricing is dramatic. And then 2+ year rate lock, that's important. In fact, the group we just placed a couple months ago actually ended up with got a 3-year rate lock on their offer. And we'll talk about that actually in a minute. The important part of this is, we want to make sure that that they're also AXA is not coming in with a super low price that next year they're going to jack the price back up, and then you got to go back out and search again. So you're going to get 2, 3, or even more years locked into your rates. Then they'll reprice them. I think that we expect them to stay competitive. They're going to always maintain a discount. No matter what, they're going to maintain their discount. We expect the pricing will stay competitive with the carrier, because they realize, if you up your rates too much, then what happens is everyone just moves. And quite frankly, if they become less competitive, that's one of the beauties of this program. We have the opportunity as a benefits program and the ACG as a whole to go back out to other carriers and say, listen, we had this program with AXA. They became uncompetitive. We're shopping it. What do you want to offer the ACG, which, and our 14,000 plus members? So it gives a great opportunity to always make sure we have competitively priced offerings. Okay, case study. So I want to look real closely, not real closely, but briefly at a case we recently did with a practice. We won't name the practice, give too much detail, but we were replacing a Unum policy, and that's a pretty common carrier. I think a lot of you might have Unum already. They are fairly well priced, well respected. They're not obviously always the easiest to work with from a customer service perspective. Depends on your broker, but so we were replacing existing group disability policies, what they had, and that they wanted to look at. They had 75 total participants, 6 physicians. This is probably not an abnormal group size for a lot of you. If you've got a endoscopy center or a surgery center and a GI practice, then you could pretty easily probably be in the 60, 70 employee range. It was a 2-tiered disability plan, so the physicians were at one benefit level and the rest of the employees were at another benefit level. And what we did was we took the existing policy and we said, do you have any problems with your plan design? They were happy. They said, no, we're happy with the plan design. We just want to see what the ACG offering can do. And so we matched everything. AXA matched all the terms exactly, or actually improved on a couple of them by small components that were tweaked and improved. But for the most part, it was all the same. They had 90-day wait periods, 60% of income caps, very traditional kind of benefit structure. They offered a 3-year rate lock on this one, and that was important because they offered a more than 40% savings, and that's a lot. You know, it was nearly half that they cut their bill almost in half with the exact same benefits with what was actually a larger provider with a larger network. So it worked out very well, and obviously they're getting access to the new platform and all the fun bells and whistles that come with that. In fact, we were able to save enough that we were able to offer a high limit plan to all of the physicians, the 6 physicians who obviously were exceeding the benefit cap in the traditional long-term disability. We were able to go in with a high limit disability program that would add all of the additional coverage up to their full 60% of their incomes with no extra expense compared to what they've been paying before just for the Unum plan. So we were able to get the new AXA plan with all the same benefits, plus add much higher coverage for all the physicians, and all of that together was still less than what they had been paying with Unum. So that's what's possible when we start working with these providers that are offering us great benefits through the ACG, is that it opens up all kinds of opportunities for practices. Okay, that's the case study. So here's the applications of practice. Somebody asked about this earlier. So we've got a few different types of practices and how this would apply, and most of these are going to be the same. Single specialty practice, all your employees are eligible as long as you've got at least one physician that's a member of the ACG. Again, with the different benefits, different types of benefits, you may have some minimum participation levels, either employee count or more often it's percentage participation. So as long as you have a group, which is more than 2 people, you've got a chance to have the benefits through participation. Multi-specialty group, same thing. Everybody's eligible as long as you've got one ACG member in the group. It includes non-GIs, non-ACG members, but they have to have an ACG partner. If you're employed by hospital, health system, or academic center, so you can't, if you are employed by one of those types of programs, you cannot participate in this plan outside of what your employer provides. Now, this would be something we could bring in to a hospital academic system for the system as a whole. And if there is an ACG member in the system, no matter how large the system is, we could offer the ACG pricing. That's something that, we've had a couple of members that have brought this to administrators in their hospital systems, and those administrators, and we're working with them because they're very interested in the fact that, and it kind of is, it's a nice thing for the hospital because now the hospital is already getting good rates because they're large, is now able to look at even better rates because one of their physicians is an ACG member. It's great for the ACG because it makes the ACG looks good. It's great for the physician because it makes them look good, kind of builds some nice favor with the administrators of the hospital. And obviously it's great for the hospital and all of the other employees in the hospital because everybody gets to enjoy some better rates. So that is possible. And then solo practitioner, this is what was asked about earlier, is eligible with at least 10 employees, including the physician. That, and I apologize, that 10 employees applies to some of the benefits, not all of the benefits. Some of them you could do with fewer than 10, depending on which benefits you wanted to implement. So if you're in that situation, just contact us and we'll quickly get that information for you. Just a couple of brief questions we need to ask, okay? So if there's no questions, I'll jump into how to get more information if you want to move forward. And it's only 5:42, so I'll get you out of here definitely under an hour. It'll be just a couple more minutes. So first, to get a proposal, here's a list of things we need. Now this is to get a full-fledged proposal. Now if you want something more, if you just want to ask some basic questions, you don't have to give me all of this up front. But to get a full proposal, we need your company name or practice name, tax ID of the state, a census of employees. We can get you a blank census if you need to know what to fill out, summary plan description of existing benefits, and your recent bill. Now, I don't know on the call who's a physician and who might be already a practice manager or office administrator. Our recommendation here is always, if you're interested in this, connect us with your your office administrator or your COO or however you're structured, so that we can work with them to get this information put together for you, because we know you're super busy. This is what they do. It's a lot easier for them to collect this information. So it kind of keeps things moving forward on a faster clip if you connect someone from your office. But there's all the information we would need. That can be emailed directly to us, acgbenefits@wmsirvine.com, or you can call us as well, and we can email directly with myself or one of the other ACG benefit advisors. We have several advisors dedicated just to the ACG here. And then if you want to just learn some more, if you've got just general questions, you can shoot us an email, you can call us, you can go online. The online website has some information. We're working on trying to get more and more uploaded to the site as quickly as we can. But those are the best ways to get info. Just give us a call is probably the best way. Or shoot us an email. I know sometimes your schedules or your hours are difficult. Okay, questions. So I'll go back up here in case anybody wants to take notes on this page. But are there any questions that we can answer for you? No one, I think we had one or two questions pop in during the webinar. This is pretty straightforward, so I'm not surprised there's fewer questions than some of the other webinars. We're all familiar with group benefits and having dental insurance, health insurance. This one, quite frankly, is one of the, and if you have a practice, this is one of the more easy decisions for me. If I look at all the other benefits that we're doing through the program, this is going to replace what you already have and just dramatically reduce your costs. That's all we're trying to do here is give good benefits and at a better cost. Obviously, if you have design changes you want to make, those kinds of things can all be done. But we strongly recommend just plugging your office manager or your administrator into the system and just saying, hey, talk to these guys, find out what this would be for us. So for you as a physician, hopefully that might be one phone call or one email, or walking over to someone and just saying, call on this, and then we'll do all the work with them. We usually get numbers turned around within a week or so, sometimes 2 weeks. Depends on how big the census is and how many employees you've got, and then we can see how much we might be able to save. So I'm not seeing any questions. I will hang out for just another couple minutes in case anybody's going to pop in and have a question, or if I think of anything I forgot, I will chime in and share that with you. But in case you do need to take off, you can do so now. I don't have any more information specifically unless there's questions. I want to thank you guys for being here tonight, guys and gals. 5:45, so got you in here 45 minutes. That's pretty good. Again, go to the website if you want to see all the other benefit offerings. There's some really great opportunities that are really beneficial for a lot of our physician clients. We, as a firm outside of the ACG, do have a number of physician clients, and so we definitely are used to seeing what works and doesn't work. We do have a question that popped in real quickly here. Let's see, long-term disability. You mentioned for first 3 years, one is covered for specialty-specific disability. What about after that? So that was that own occupation question. So when you're doing group disability insurance, those plans always will have a limitation on how long they'll pay out a full benefit based on the, quote, own occupation. Some of them won't offer that at all, but some of them will, and if they do offer it, it limits it to the first couple of years, 2-3 years. So what happens after that is your question. After that, and this has to do with determining your eligibility for the benefit, okay? So what happens after that is if you're still disabled and unable to work, you will continue receiving your full benefit, no question, all the way to age 65. However, if you are able to return to work, and you do return to work, but no longer working as a gastroenterologist, or maybe you're no longer doing procedures and you're just teaching, that becomes any occupation, right? At that point in time, where they're saying you can work, you just can't work as what you're doing before. So there's still benefits that you're eligible for, but your benefits may be reduced, right? So they may be reducing your benefits by the amount that by whatever you're receiving in income for your new job. So if you become a teacher and you're making less than you were doing when you're doing procedures, then they may be adjustments to the benefit amount. So that's what that means. So after that 2 or 3 year limit on the own occupation definition, you would start receiving benefits relative to any occupation. Where in the first 2-3 years, even if you went and taught, if you were no longer able to be doing procedures like you were before, you would get your full benefit, even if you were receiving income doing something else. That's kind of what they're talking about there. And again, on that kind of thing, we would walk through those details. I mean, we're just talking here on a webinar, and it's all very general. But when we look at your specific plan, and I'm not the carrier, right? So when we look at your specific plan, we're going to get a document from the carrier that's going to lay out in painstaking detail what exactly your benefits are and how exactly they work. And that's going to be the thing to refer to get the exact details. And some of that's negotiable, some of it isn't. So every plan's a little bit different. So when you get a proposal, that information comes with that proposal, and that's when we start getting into those details to make sure that you understand exactly how it works. And some proposals will be different than others. So when I speak generally here on the webinar, please understand that it is general, and there's always a chance that what the carrier's offering at the time would be a little bit different. We would just need to look at that closely. Okay. Since this is a recorded webinar, I don't want to be misspeaking or have the carrier change a plan design and have someone say, hey, but Ian said on that webinar. So that's my full legal disclaimer. Asterisk, please refer to proposal for actual details. Got to be honest, guys, it's a little weird to sit here and talk to empty space. I know you're there, and if you don't have questions, that's totally fine, but webinars are a unique experience for me. Usually I'm talking to someone, or there's a small group and we have other people that can chime in and ask questions verbally. So sometimes I feel like I'm getting a little insight into what it might be like to be crazy. Have conversations with myself. Okay, I'm not getting any more questions. It looks like we might have everything kind of wrapped up. I am going to mute myself probably for everyone's benefit. And I will stay online though. If you got anything else, feel free to chime in or shoot me a note. I will come back online here and answer those questions. Thanks so much for being here, and hope to talk to you soon.